many votes do we think we've got here, and how many votes do we think we've got on what? Are we talking about a 5-day pushback, a month pushback? Where are we?
Julia, the whole conversation right now is about this roughly 1 month continuing resolution to keep the government funded through, I think, February 16th. And there are a couple of other measures attached to it, most notably a 6-year extension of the children's health insurance program. The House whip count seems very, very close. Speaker Ryan either has roughly the amount of votes he needs or he's a little bit short. They're expecting at least some House Democrats to hop across the aisle and support this measure. So the prospects look a little bit better in the House, if uncertain. The Senate is where the real problems are at this point. It's very difficult for me having conversations with a number of Democratic aides in the Senate and some Democratic senators today to count to 60 votes in the Senate to keep the government funded past midnight tomorrow. I think Democrats have reached their breaking point. They're facing a lot of pressure from their base to hold firm, to fight, to include some sort of DACA solution as part of this. And the Republican leadership says there's no chance that happens before Friday at midnight. So right now we're on the path to a government shutdown.
Yeah, it seems like the two sides are pretty hard in their positions. And in fact, a headline just crossed, Sahil, that says Senate Democrats say they've got the votes to block a stopgap spending bill. So the president did not make any mention of this when he spoke in Pennsylvania in the last hour. He, of course, is campaigning for the Republican congressman in Western Pennsylvania to make sure that the Republicans hold on to that seat. Going forward, how involved is the White House in all of this, or have they kind of washed their hands of all of this? Because the president's tweets this morning seem to add to the confusion.
They have not washed their hands of this. They've done the exact opposite. They added an element of chaos today through the president's tweets that essentially upended the strategy that Republicans had for this continuing resolution, which is to put it on the floor, to include a 6-year extension of the children's health insurance program, which is what the president seemed to be objecting to, and say if it fails, the Democrats are responsible for shutting down the government. The president ended up saying, no, let's not do a children's health insurance program attachment to a short-term funding measure, indicating that he wants it to be attached to a longer-term bill. But the White House is doing a little bit of cleanup on aisle Trump today and saying the White House does support, in fact, this funding measure. So we're looking at the House probably voting between 7 and 8 p.m. tonight. The Senate's going to try to take up something very quickly after. But look, there are a number of Senate Democrats who carried this thing over the finish line last month when they had to do yet another short-term funding measure, who are now voting no. So, again, the whole game is 60 votes in the Senate right now, and it's difficult to see how they get there.